Hello everybody and welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 for another before and after video, this time covering the free City Update 11 that just came out today, which updates Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New York, and New Jersey. If you haven't seen one of my videos before, we always start off with a shot from Apple Maps so you can see what it looks like in real life, and then we shift over to the sim and showcase what it looked like before the update, and then you can see where this is going. We'll showcase what it looks like after the update. And I wanted to start with Pleasant Bay, Massachusetts, because it looks exactly the same. That wasn't the same picture put up again. I went all over Pleasant Bay to figure out what's going on, and I couldn't see a single change. No new imagery, no 3D photogrammic imagery. It just, unless there's another Pleasant Bay somewhere in Massachusetts, I went all over the place here, and it looked exactly the same. So I thought I'd start the video off with this because this was the weirdest part of it. But overall, my feelings with the city update, it's not my favorite one. It's probably closer to the bottom, and we'll kind of get into why I'm feeling that way as we make our way through. So next up, welcome to Providence, Rhode Island, where you can see a nice mix of architecture and buildings, from newer ones to the older brick ones. And then keep an eye on those bridges, because as you can see in 2024, before the update, bridges love to be underwater in the sim, which this update does a good job. You know, it brings them up. It actually has some detail to it. The only other noticeable change I saw here were the couple murals added, and the parking lots are now empty. Moving to another part of Providence here. I'm assuming this is an interstate. A lot of overpasses, some cool churches going on around here. And once we get in the sim, I think the photogrammetry actually looks really nice, and we kind of have a common theme, especially here in Providence, where once we get the update installed, the buildings just turn out really dark. It's the same time of day, but they look like they just got doused in coal for whatever reason. And the other thing is their detail becomes less. You'll notice it really here, because I mean, look how cool, I'm assuming a warehouse or something like that. Looks awesome in real life. Once we get in the sim, you know, again, still kind of dark, but still looks nice. Clean textures on the outside of the photogrammetry, doesn't look crappy. And then after we get the install, for whatever reason, the photogrammic imagery becomes very sad and soupy and doesn't look very enjoyable to look at. I'm not sure why that's the case. Both of these were streamed, so before and after was streamed, it wasn't installed or anything. But one thing it does do good, there's a ton of old imagery, because Bing Maps really hasn't updated much for a good decade in a lot of places, especially in the US. So it's nice to see some new imagery coming in. We have some new structures all over the update. The only thing I don't like is how these parking lots become more and more empty. I think it looks better with full parking lots, because then it makes the city feel alive and not abandoned. So you're getting the worse photogrammetry, and then the city's empty, and it's just, I don't know. I don't really like that. I prefer cars in the parking lot like it is before the update. By the way, this is Coney Island, which, as you saw, it didn't look like much of an amusement park before the update. Looks a bit better, and of course some new structures added as well in the city update. Next up on our tour is the Statue of Liberty, which I think they did a good job of opening it up and making it look nicer than it does currently in the sim. One thing I want you to keep in mind is, see that green pier next to the boat on the left side of the island? Just keep an eye out on that. And then, of course, the main part of the island, which does get cleaned up, looks a lot nicer. I would have loved to see them actually do the pier, or at least get rid of it. But they did put a ship on top of it to hide it, I guess. I don't know, but it would have looked nicer seeing that pier actually modeled. And then, of course, moving into Manhattan, I guess. I don't know, I'm not versed in New York City. But we're on the main island, and you can see in the sim, water masking looks terrible. A lot of those squares going on. And then you'll also notice some other buildings have been added, and the water looks so much better around the island. No more of those blocky squares going on around the edges there. This is one that I'm not very fine with regarding the updated version of, and you'll see it really quick. So before, the bridge, not looking too hot. Tons of big trees. And, it doesn't look really good on the edge. But unfortunately, the update doesn't make it look any better because it's oozing purple slime out of the wall over there along the water. And some areas looking a bit flooded. The bridge does look nicer, though. I will give it that. And then, of course, as we know, tons of buildings not existing. Look at the difference between what it looks like now and what it looked like before. My goodness. As if New York City didn't have enough skyscrapers, they needed some more, which you'll see the difference after the update. So many more buildings. I do like that triangle, not curvy, but angled. I don't even know what's going on, but it does look cool. Again, some more piers that are kind of just sitting in the water that I would have loved to see kind of get modeled as well. Here's Boston, Logan International Airport. Looks really cool in person and doesn't look so cool in the sim. The update doesn't really do much. It adds a little bit more detail to the terminal with some windows, but still doesn't look very exciting. And the other thing that's very odd is over on the other end, you can see there's a whole piece of terminal missing. I recorded it. For whatever reason, you see it when you're zoomed out, but as you zoom in on the world map, it disappears. And once you're in the sim by the airport, it's not there either. So that was already happening before the city update, and it's still happening after the city update. Not sure what's with that. But anyways, let's head into downtown Boston, which, similar to New York City, had a lot of old imagery, and you'll of course see the difference between new and old. The thing that's odd about this, New York has great new updates to the water and how it's around the island. Boston is the opposite. It adds some new details and buildings, but look at that ugly brown nonsense going on the left side there around where the bridge spins and all that. You'll notice it in this shot as well once we get to the new one. So I'm not sure why there's areas where it's like, oh, this looks great, and then there's other areas that are like, oh, this looks worse than it did before. Because, I think the water looks great. Obviously, some more sunken things, which here they actually do add the dock that I'm talking about. But then we also get some ugly brown, draw a pencil through here, and that's the line between new stuff and old. And then, of course, new bridges, new structures, all that good stuff. But it's just odd to me to have all these different things. Like, I like this here, but I hate it over in this part. I like this, but that's not happening over in this. It's odd. That's that's all I'm saying. Here's a random rail yard. I thought it was pretty cool. I think it looks great before the update. Don't think it looks as great after the update because there's still some water over the railroad. And then all the railroad lights and signs are trying to be 3D photogrammic, but they're all broken, and I would have just left that out, honestly. It looked better before. Next up, we have the Beaver Tail Lighthouse, which you can see light-colored rocks all over the place. And the sim goes for the dark-colored rocks, which it looks great too, don't get me wrong. I'm not too picky about it. At least there's no trees in the rocks until after the update, because for whatever reason, we need trees now in here. And I don't know. That's the thing about this whole update is there's points where it's just like, oh, you know what? The water looks great in New York. I hope it looks like that everywhere. Then you get to Boston and it's the complete opposite. It looks worse than it did before the update. So I'm not really sure what's going on with this update. If I'd have to rate it, I would probably give it a 5 out of 10. Yes, it's great that we finally get some new satellite imagery in these bigger cities to bring in buildings that have existed for 10 plus years that weren't in the sim because of the outdated Bing imagery. But, it's just issues like with the Boston airport, things being flooded, like piers and stuff still, even though they worked on the areas right next to where those piers are sunk, is just really odd to me. So, with that being said, be sure to let me know what you guys think of City Update 11. I'd be happy to hear about it and all that good stuff. So, with that being said, thank you guys again for all the support for anything Flight Sim. And I will talk to you guys next time. See ya.